In the fading light of the Cretaceous, a shadow moved slowly across the forest floor. It didn't run, it didn't roar, it didn't need to, because it was built like a fortress, a living tank, a creature so heavily armored even the deadliest predators thought twice before attacking. What kind of beast left behind only bones, but terrified entire ecosystems? Its back was a mosaic of bone and shield. Its tail ended in a brutal club, capable of breaking legs, shattering ribs, and turning the tide of a hunt. It didn't chase, it stood its ground. And when it struck with the force of survival. This was Ankylosaurus, a name that means fused lizard. Ankylosaurus was the last and largest of its kind. A quadrupedal herbivore, yes, but one armored like a medieval knight. It lived during the final days of the dinosaurs, between 68 and 66 million years ago, in what is now Western North America. And though it didn't hunt, it was feared, because it was nearly impossible to kill. Its body was low and wide, like a living bulldozer. Its skin was studded with osteoderms, bony plates that formed a shell of defense. Its head was flat and broad, with horns jutting backward from the skull. And its tail was a weapon, a club of fused bone, swung with devastating force. Tonight, we follow the story of this armored titan. We'll trace its discovery from the Badlands of Montana to the vaults of natural history museums. We'll reconstruct its anatomy from shattered skulls and scattered plates. We'll explore its daily life, how it moved, how it fed, how it defended itself. And we'll witness its final stand as the age of dinosaurs came to a fiery end. This is not a tale of speed. It is a tale of strength, of endurance, of evolution's answer to predation. We'll explore how Ankylosaurus used its armor, how it wielded its tail, and how it may have lived in quiet herds or solitary paths. We'll examine the debates that shaped its story. Was it slow or agile? Passive or aggressive? Could it truly break the bones of a Tyrannosaurus Rex? And then we'll watch it vanish, because 66 million years ago the Earth changed. The skies darkened. The forests burned, and Ankylosaurus, like so many giants, was swept away in the great extinction that ended the Mesozoic era. But what if it hadn't? What if this armored tank still roamed our forests, grazed in our valleys, defended its territory with bone and fury? Would we fear it, worship it, protect it, or would we try to cage it as we've done with so many wonders before? In this documentary, we'll bring Ankylosaurus to life, not as a monster, but as a marvel. Not as a myth, but as a memory carved in stone and shielded in bone. Let's go back 66 million years ago. The first clues to Ankylosaurus's existence came not from a dramatic cliffside dig or a jungle expedition, but from the quiet, windswept badlands of Montana. In 1906, renowned paleontologist Barnum Brown, already famous for discovering Tyrannosaurus Rex, unearthed fragments of a strange, armored creature. Among the bones were pieces of a skull, vertebrae, ribs, and most notably bony plates, osteoderms, unlike anything seen before. At first, the fossils were puzzling. The skull was low and wide, the vertebrae fused and rigid, and the armor plates were thick, irregular, and deeply textured. Brown recognized that this was no ordinary dinosaur. It wasn't a predator. It wasn't a sauropod. It was something else, something built for defense. He named it Ankylosaurus magniventris, meaning fused lizard with a great belly. The name reflected its unique skeletal structure, vertebrae and ribs fused into a solid mass, creating a body that was low to the ground and nearly impervious to attack. The discovery was published in 1908 and immediately sparked interest across the scientific world, but the fossil was incomplete. No tail club, no limbs, no full skeleton. For decades, scientists debated its true form. Was it slow and lumbering or surprisingly agile? Did it live in herds or alone? And how did it use its armor, passively or as a weapon? More fossils trickled in over the years. In Alberta, Canada, and Wyoming, USA, paleontologists uncovered additional fragments, skulls, armor plates, and eventually pieces of the iconic tail club. These finds helped refine the image of Ankylosaurus, confirming its status as the largest and most heavily armored member of its family. Still, confusion persisted. Many fossils attributed to Ankylosaurus were later reassigned to closely related species like Euoplocephalus and Anodontosaurus. The differences were subtle, variations in skull shape, armor texture, and tail structure, but significant. Ankylosaurus itself remained elusive, known mostly from partial remains and reconstructions. Today, fewer than a dozen confirmed Ankylosaurus specimens exist. Most are housed in major institutions like the American Museum of Natural History in New York, the Royal Tyrrell Museum in Alberta, and the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. These fossils are studied with advanced techniques, CT scans, 3D modeling, and microscopic analysis to reveal details once hidden in stone. One of the most striking discoveries came from a well-preserved skull, revealing the creature's sensory capabilities. Its nasal passages were complex, suggesting a keen sense of smell. Its eyes were positioned for lateral vision, allowing it to scan its surroundings while keeping its head low. And its brain, though small, showed adaptations for balance and coordination, essential for wielding its massive tail club. The tail club itself remained a mystery until the late 20th century, when complete examples were found. Composed of fused vertebrae and surrounded by dense bone, the club could weigh over 30 kilograms. Biomechanical studies suggest it could deliver blows strong enough to break bone, possibly used to deter predators or compete with rivals. The discovery of Ankylosaurus was not a single moment, but a century-long journey. Each fossil added a piece to the puzzle. Each debate sharpened the image. And each new technique brought us closer to understanding a creature that once turned defense into dominance. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't fast, but it was unforgettable. From the quiet dig sites of Montana to the halls of modern museums, the story of Ankylosaurus is one of persistence, both in life and in science. A creature built to endure, and a mystery still unfolding. Ankylosaurus was not built for speed. It was built for survival. Measuring up to 6.5 meters in length, about the size of a city bus, and weighing nearly 6 tons, it was one of the most heavily armored animals to ever walk the earth. Its body was low, wide, and squat, like a living tank rolling across the forest floor. Its most iconic feature was its armor. The back, flanks, and even parts of the limbs were covered in osteoderms, bony plates embedded in the skin. These weren't random. They were arranged in interlocking patterns, forming a shield that could deflect bites, claws, and even crushing force. Some plates were flat and broad, others were ridged or spiked. Together, they created a mosaic of defense, a fortress of bone. The skull was equally fortified. Low and triangular, it featured horns that projected backward from the cheeks and behind the eyes. These horns weren't just for show. They added protection to the head and may have been used in display or combat. The nasal passages were complex, suggesting a keen sense of smell and possibly a role in vocalization or thermoregulation. Its eyes were small, positioned laterally for wide peripheral vision. This allowed Ankylosaurus to monitor its surroundings while keeping its head low. The jaws were simple, with leaf-shaped teeth designed for grinding plant material. It wasn't a predator, but it was a master of defense. The tail was its weapon. At the end of a stiff, muscular tail was a massive club, formed by fused vertebrae and encased in dense bone. This club could reach over 60 centimeters in width and weigh more than 30 kilograms. Biomechanical studies suggest it could swing with enough force to break bone, possibly used to deter predators like Tyrannosaurus rex or to compete with rivals. The tail itself was supported by ossified tendons, making it rigid and capable of delivering powerful lateral strikes. It wasn't just a passive defense, it was an active deterrent. A predator approaching from behind risked a crippling blow. Its limbs were short but strong. The forelimbs were slightly smaller than the hind limbs, each ending in broad, hoof-like toes. These were built for stability, not speed. Ankylosaurus moved slowly, deliberately, with a low center of gravity that made it difficult to tip or flip. Its gait was quadrupedal, and its stride was short, more like a bulldozer than a sprinter. The skin between the armor plates was likely thick and leathery, offering additional protection. Some reconstructions suggest small, pebbled scales in exposed areas, though no direct skin impressions have been found for Ankylosaurus itself. Related species show evidence of keratin sheaths over the osteoderms, adding another layer of defense. Internally, Ankylosaurus had a large gut cavity, necessary for digesting tough plant material. It likely housed fermentation chambers similar to modern herbivores, allowing it to break down fibrous vegetation. Its lungs were efficient and its heart was strong, capable of supporting a massive body with slow but steady circulation. Its brain was small but specialized. Enlarged regions for balance and coordination suggest it could control its tail with precision. It wasn't dumb, it was deliberate. Every movement was calculated, every strike measured. Sound is speculative, but its nasal structure hints at the possibility of low-frequency vocalizations, grunts, hisses or bellows used for communication or warning. Its hearing was likely tuned to ground-level vibrations and ambient noise, helping it detect movement in dense vegetation. Coloration remains unknown. It may have been earth-toned, browns, grays, or greens, to blend with its environment, or it may have featured bold patterns for display or intimidation. Without pigment evidence, we can only imagine. In motion, Ankylosaurus was a paradox. Slow, yet powerful. Passive, yet dangerous. It didn't chase. It didn't flee. It stood its ground. And when threatened, it turned defense into offense. Every trait, from its armored back to its crushing tail, was a response to a world of predators. It didn't need speed. It didn't need stealth. It needed resilience. And in that resilience, it became one of the most formidable creatures of the Dinosaur Age. In the lush, temperate landscapes of late Cretaceous North America, Ankylosaurus moved like a silent sentinel. It didn't chase. It didn't flee. It simply existed, armored, deliberate, and unbothered. Its world was one of towering conifers, flowering plants, and winding river systems. The climate was warm, seasonal, and rich with vegetation. And in this ecosystem, Ankylosaurus carved out a life of quiet resilience. It lived in regions that today span Montana, Wyoming, and Alberta, areas that were once part of a vast coastal plain near the western interior seaway. These floodplains were dotted with forests, open meadows, and wetlands. The terrain was soft, the air humid, and the vegetation abundant. Perfect conditions for a slow-moving herbivore built like a tank. Ankylosaurus was a browser. Its leaf-shaped teeth and wide muzzle suggest it fed on low-growing plants, ferns, cycads, and angiosperms. It likely used its beak-like front jaws to crop vegetation, then ground it down with its back teeth. Its digestive system was massive, capable of fermenting tough plant matter over long periods. It didn't need to rush. It had all the time in the world. It may have foraged alone or in loose groups. No definitive evidence of herding behavior exists, but its low profile and heavy armor suggest a solitary lifestyle. It didn't rely on numbers for protection. It relied on itself. Its body was its shield, and its tail was its sword. Predators roamed nearby, large theropods like Tyrannosaurus rex. But Ankylosaurus didn't panic. It stood its ground. Fossil evidence shows healed injuries on armor plates and tail clubs, suggesting it survived encounters with attackers. Its defense strategy was simple: absorb the first strike, then retaliate with a crushing blow. The tail club was more than a deterrent. It was a precision weapon. Studies show that Ankylosaurus could swing its tail with enough force to break bone. The club's shape and weight, combined with the rigidity of the tail, allowed for lateral strikes that could cripple a predator's leg or rib cage. It didn't need to kill. It only needed to hurt enough to make attackers retreat. Movement was slow but steady. Ankylosaurus walked on all fours, with a wide stance and short stride. Its limbs were positioned beneath the body for support, not speed. It likely moved through dense vegetation, using its low profile to stay hidden. Its armor made it nearly invisible to infrared detection, cool, quiet, and camouflaged. Sound was minimal. It may have communicated through low-frequency grunts or body language, tail movements, head posture, or stomping. Its nasal passages suggest the potential for vocalization, but no direct evidence confirms this. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. A day in the life of Ankylosaurus began with sunrise filtering through the canopy. It would rise slowly, stretch its limbs, and begin to forage. It moved through ferns and shrubs, cropping leaves and chewing methodically. Midday might bring rest, lying in shaded areas, digesting, listening. If threatened, it would turn its body, raise its tail, and prepare to strike. By evening, it would settle again, blending into the landscape like a boulder with breath. Its interactions with other species were likely minimal. It wasn't aggressive unless provoked. It didn't compete for prey. It didn't chase. It simply existed, resilient, armored, and aware. Fossilized footprints attributed to ankylosaurs show a slow, deliberate gait. Wide tracks, deep impressions. No signs of running, just steady movement across soft ground. These tracks, preserved in ancient mud, tell a story of patience, of presence, of a creature that didn't need to dominate because it was already untouchable. In its behavior, Ankylosaurus was a paradox. Passive yet powerful, quiet yet dangerous. It didn't seek conflict, but it was always prepared. Its life was a balance of grazing and guarding, of movement and stillness, and in that balance it thrived. For millions of years, it walked the earth as a living fortress, a creature that turned evolution into armor. And in its daily rhythm, we glimpse a world where survival wasn't about speed or strength, but about endurance, adaptation, and the quiet power of being unbreakable. For millions of years, Ankylosaurus thrived in the shadow of giants. It outlasted rivals, survived predators, and endured the shifting climates of the late Cretaceous. But its armor couldn't protect it from what came next. Not a predator, but a planet in crisis. Around 66 million years ago, the Earth was struck by a force beyond comprehension. A massive asteroid, estimated to be 10 kilometers wide, slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact unleashed global devastation, shockwaves, firestorms, and a choking cloud of debris that blotted out the sun. Photosynthesis collapsed. Temperatures dropped. Ecosystems unraveled. For Ankylosaurus, the consequences were immediate. The lush floodplains it depended on turned to ash. The plants it fed on withered. The air grew cold, the skies dark. Its slow metabolism and massive body, once strengths, became burdens. It couldn't migrate fast enough. It couldn't adapt quickly enough. And it couldn't survive the collapse of the food web. The fossil record tells a stark story. Ankylosaurus disappears abruptly at the KPG boundary, the geological line that marks the end of the Cretaceous and the beginning of the Paleogene. Below that line, its bones are found in sediment, scattered across Montana and Alberta. Above it, nothing. No tracks, no armor, no tail clubs, just silence. Some scientists argue that volcanic activity in the Deccan Traps of India may have contributed to the extinction. These eruptions released vast amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur into the atmosphere, triggering acid rain and long-term climate shifts. Whether the asteroid was the final blow or part of a larger cascade, the result was the same: a mass extinction event that wiped out nearly 3/4 of all life on Earth. Ankylosaurus was not alone in its fall. The great predators vanished. The towering sauropods disappeared. Even the skies grew quiet as pterosaurs and birds were swept away. The age of dinosaurs ended, and the age of mammals began. But Ankylosaurus left behind more than bones. It left behind a legacy of resilience, of evolution's answer to danger. Its armor, its tail, its very shape, each was a testament to survival in a world of giants. And its extinction reminds us that even the most well-defended creatures are vulnerable to forces beyond their control. Today, the iridium-rich layer that marks the KPG boundary serves as a global tombstone. It stretches across continents, embedded in cliffs and riverbeds, a silent witness to the day the Earth changed forever. Ankylosaurus didn't vanish in battle. It vanished in silence, in cold, in hunger, in the long shadow of extinction. Its fall was not a failure. It was a consequence, a reminder that nature's balance is fragile, that even the strongest armor cannot stop the sky from falling, and so its bones settled into the earth. Its story paused, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to be told. In the end, it wasn't a predator that ended Ankylosaurus. It was the planet itself. A shift so sudden, so absolute, that even the armored tank of the Dinosaur Age could not endure. But in its fall, it became legend. A creature that stood its ground until the very end. And in that final silence it left behind a message etched in stone. Survival is strength, but nothing survives alone. Picture a quiet forest trail at dawn. Mist clings to the underbrush. Birds scatter. And then, from the trees, a shape emerges, low, broad, armored. Ankylosaurus, alive in the modern world. If this creature survived into our time, it would be a living relic. A prehistoric tank rolling through the wilderness. Its body, unchanged for millions of years, would challenge everything we thought we knew about extinction, evolution, and survival. Where could it live? Remote valleys, protected reserves, or dense forests might offer the space and vegetation it needs. National parks in North America, Yellowstone, Banff, or the Yukon could become sanctuaries. Its diet of low-growing plants would be easy to accommodate. But its size, weight, and slow movement would require careful planning. Fencing, monitoring, and habitat design would need to match its ancient needs. Zoos and research centers would compete to study it. Housing one would be a feat of engineering, reinforced enclosures, armored transport vehicles, and feeding programs tailored to its digestive system. Scientists would analyze its armor, its tail mechanics, its gut microbiome. Veterinarians would pioneer new techniques for treating osteoderms, tail injuries, and metabolic conditions unique to a creature from another age. Public reaction would be a mix of awe and fear. News outlets would broadcast footage of Ankylosaurus grazing in protected zones. Documentaries would explore its behavior, anatomy, and history. Children would sketch it in classrooms. Tourists would flock to see it. And yet questions would linger. Could it be dangerous? Would it defend itself against humans? Could it be weaponized? Governments would draft conservation protocols, airspace restrictions, emergency response plans. Ethical debates would rage. Should it be cloned, bred, or left alone? Would it be treated as a national treasure or a biological anomaly? Ecologically, Ankylosaurus could reshape its environment. Its grazing habits might affect plant diversity. Its presence could deter predators or attract scavengers. It might compete with large herbivores, bison, elk, or moose. Or it might fill a niche long left vacant, restoring balance to ecosystems altered by human activity. From a scientific standpoint, its survival would be revolutionary. Paleontologists could compare living behavior to fossil evidence. Biomechanics experts could study its tail strikes in real time. Evolutionary biologists could trace its lineage, unlocking secrets about armor development, herbivory, and resilience. It would be a living bridge between ancient Earth and modern science, but with its return comes a haunting question. Would we protect it or repeat history? Would it be hunted for its bones, its armor, its mystery? Would it be caged, studied, dissected? Or would it be revered, given space to live, to move, to exist? In a world of highways, cities, and shrinking wilderness, could Ankylosaurus truly thrive? Or would it become another symbol of what we lost and what we failed to preserve? The image lingers, a massive armored shape moving through morning fog. A creature that once stood its ground against giants, that survived predators, time and extinction only to face humanity, and now imagined again, not as a monster, but as a marvel, in a world not built for giants. Would it still walk the earth?